I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the cast fee. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. She's been in a few productions of Cats, but most recently just finished up performing as Jemima on the international tour. So welcome, Gabrielle Parker, and thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Everyone who listened to Gavin's episode got a sneak peek of a little bit as someone who raved about you in his episode. Oh. So excited to have you on. And I always love to start with your Cats history before performing in it. So when was the first time you saw it?
Well, do you know what? I actually started probably my journey into musical theatre mainly from ballet. So ballet was probably my main love, something that I always just had a passion for. So I would say growing up, I actually mainly used to go and watch ballet, probably. I hadn't delved into musical theatre too much until probably I was maybe like 7, 8 kind of age. Whereas it was like ballet, loved it. But I remember my nanny taking me to the ballet and I turned to her and I was like, when are they going to start talking?
Yeah.
And she was like, they don't. And I was like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. It's like, I loved it. I loved the idea of it. But then I was just like, I wanted something more kind of started like, doing little bits of singing around the house, that kind of thing. And and then I think I was about 10 when I first saw the show. And my mum and my nan took me to a production that was happening in Cheltenham. That was a tour, I'm assuming. And watched it and just loved it. And I was like, this is incredible. Then was on YouTube straight away thinking, I've got to start learning this, just loving it, as I'm sure everyone does. At that age, it's just one of those shows that you just, I think, instantly fall in love with. And then it was like VHS, YouTube, just straight in there, always practicing. And I actually remember, probably much to my brother's despair, that I used to always make him dress in like a cat suit. So I'd be like, right, we're going to perform Cats, so get the cat suit on. And my brother used to obviously not enjoy me doing that, but so I think I just loved it just straight away.
Who'd you make him perform as? Was he like all the male cats and you were all the female cats?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I always remember it was like a black cat suit, so I was probably like, "You're gonna be Miss Stove."
Yeah,
that's the role for you. But yeah, so probably like around like 10, 8, 9, 10 probably when I first started. Yeah.
Was this the hip hop Rum Tum Tugger tour?
No.
Okay.
No. So this was like the OG.
Okay.
I just have like such vivid memories of like the flashing eye sequence where, all the cats start coming through and just instantly was like, this is incredible. Like you just felt in it from the get-go, which obviously is the whole point of that section. And it's one of those things that I can just visualize like to this day. And it was just, loved it.
Were you like drawn to Victoria as like a ballet performer? Like because like that's the role that starts with. So like, is that something that, that you first like immediately saw and was like, okay, this is like, was that the cat for you, or was it just everything? Because at that point you were into musical theater.
I think Victoria was something that instantly I was like, okay, I want to do that. I think, because I'd done so much ballet growing up, and obviously Victoria is such a like gorgeous classical role, like intertwined with everything else, but it, obviously has such a strong classical foundation. I think, it was just, and the white, you're just like, oh, it's just gorgeous. So that was definitely a big draw, and I always wanted to be Victoria. Always. Yeah.
Well, then fast forward to 2018, and you were cast as Victoria. So
I
was this like a show you were seeking out as like, I want the auditions for this, or was it just you're going for any and everything because it's part of being a performer and this just works out? Like, how is that? Like, Was it always the show you wanted to do?
I think I remember. So I trained actually at the same college as Gavin. So we both trained at London Studio Centre. And I remember we had like jazz assessments, and one of the kind of repertoire that we started learning was Cats, taught by Anthony Whiteman, who had been in Cats. And I remember just learning it, and I was like, I love this. Like we learned so much choreography, so much like variety of stuff. And I just absolutely loved it. And I think just at college, it was that thing of, I really want to do this. And I remember looking up like who was, currently playing Victoria and all this kind of stuff at college. And I was like, I just really want to do it. And yeah, I think when I then graduated, I got a wonderful agent. And she was very much, she was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, Cats. I want to do Cats. And I think, she very much believed that I could. So I think it was one of my quite early auditions out of college. I think I'd maybe been graduated a month or so, which was amazing. Like timing wise, I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. But, you just never know. And then, when I got the call, I actually was originally put in for, or was seen as Rumpleteazer to start with, which I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And then fast forward to my next round, it was like Victoria, and I was like, oh, okay. And then, I remember doing all of the, Copeland choreography, Hovers choreography in the auditions, and then was called in to be Victoria, and then we were learning the Victoria solo, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really real now. Like, I really could get this. And I remember getting the phone call from my agent, and I was actually at my family home at the time. My mum was upstairs, and my agent called me and said, would you like to be Victoria? And I remember just screaming. My mum was upstairs, smashed a mirror because she thought like something awful has happened. She was like, oh my God, what's happened? Came downstairs, and I was just like, I got it. So I think it was like, obviously the smashing a mirror is the whole 7 years bad luck. So I think it was like 7 years of doing Cats. I mean, it's slightly longer than that, but I was like, I think it just all, came together. Makes sense.
You didn't get the bad luck. You just became Jellicle for 7 years. For
exactly.
So you go, and in that first room, I'm always fascinated by like how you're learning the story. So obviously you're learning the dance, you're learning everything, but what do you remember of being told about Victoria? And then also fast forward, you do this multiple times as Jemima, like about those two particular characters as you're learning it. This is what I'm given to start with, and then this is what I built for this character?
I think, obviously, I'm sure you're aware of the 3 words, the sacred 3 words. So I think and it's so strange. I always think like it's just 3 words. Like you kind of think, oh, well, great. But actually how they all tie in, and when obviously you're learning the choreography, you're learning your, character relationships, all of that, you're like, okay, this makes absolute perfect sense with these 3 words. And I think once you're then tapping into that, and just kind of creating your junkyard with everybody in the room, it then really like solidifies your character, and you can then delve into different avenues, and it just makes sense. You're just like, okay, yeah, obviously I'm, these 3 words are for this character. It's just, the 3 words really are like so important. And I think when you're learning, especially, from Chrissy, you just want to continually watch everything that she ever does because she's just so wonderful. You just absorb so much from her as well. I think when she's teaching, small, like even just small sections like that are specific to your character, you can so quickly gain information from her just from, those small little pearls of wisdom that she gives you along the way. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take that and, have a little think about how I might interact with that person that's going to then shape my character, that kind of thing. So it's just,
What was the one that surprised you most? Like when you were told about Victoria, that like little piece of wisdom that you're using now for the next character. What was the one that were like, I wasn't expecting that?
I think because she's, I guess I don't know if I'm allowed to, I'm assuming everyone knows the words, but like, one of the words for
they're
her,
online. You can
right,
find them online.
Thrilled. Okay, lovely. You know, I'm like, sacred words. But one of them was unselfconscious, which I think when you first kind of think of Victoria, like, you know, she's very innocent, she's young, like she's kind of pure, all of this kind of stuff. And obviously, again, it makes sense that she's unselfconscious due to, you know, the Victoria solo is absolutely that. But I think in a way it then makes you think, okay, actually she is just kind of eager to explore, eager to, like, she's innocent, yes, she's like tame and stuff, but she's so, I don't know, kind of curious at the same time. And I think sometimes you don't necessarily think that. You'd think she'd almost be like very timid and shy and quiet because she's the little like white cat, but actually she is like unselfconscious. So actually she's kind of got that almost like that no filter, you know, children, you know, younger children that just are like, actually, I'm gonna just do what I want.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was one that I was like, oh, okay, I didn't necessarily think that from her. I think I thought she would be a little bit more like reserved as a character. But yeah,
it's interesting because like, you do see that, and like I can totally feel that. But then it's like when I learned about what's happening on stage during the ball and during the solo, like
exactly,
can't be that self-conscious in that moment if you're doing that in front of an audience of people.
This is it, exactly. But yeah, I don't think you think initially you're like, oh no, she's just this very pretty, like well put together little cat. But then actually you're like, oh okay.
No fear.
Yeah. Just she's going for it.
Yeah. What about Jemima?
I think, I mean, I don't know whether, I think for me, I have definitely found like, because actually Jemima is younger than Victoria. And I think for me, I think I didn't think that she would be younger. I don't know why. I just in my head I was thinking, oh no, Victoria's the youngest one because she's this like cute little white kitty. But I think for me, Jemima has that kind of like cheeky energy as well. So yeah, I loved kind of exploring that as well from her.
Yeah. Can I give you some Jemima syllabub theories, and you tell me if they're real or not, or like you could play them or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so one was the relationship to Grisabella being either that it's a mirror of Grisabella's like younger self. And in some cases, they play that as daughter because of the singing, the part of the song.
Oh, okay. I put that. I'm not sure about that. I definitely think that she is like a reflection of Grisabella. I definitely think that. I think that, yeah, there's absolutely a connection there in terms of Jemima could very quickly turn into a Grisabella. She's very like curious and she'll just like go off and do things and probably get into a bit of trouble along the way. But, you know, which is why I think her relationship with like Skimble, for example, he's very protective over her and, you know, tries to keep her reined in as much as he can because he knows that actually she could end up like Grisabella if she carries on, you know, in her ways. But I don't think they're mother and daughter.
Okay. There's a lot of questions about the family tree on this. So there's a theory. I'm going to give you all of them and you tell me which ones you think are potentially true. One is that it's Jemima is the daughter of Macavity and Demeter. Another is Macavity and Grisabella. Another is some version of Monkish Trap as the father, and then either like a Jelly Lorum or potentially even a Skimbleshanks as the father, but that version. And then obviously there's a lot about potentially being sisters with Electra and etc. because they're together a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, none of the above.
None.
Kind of. So in my head, I think that she is the daughter of Bombalurina and Macavity.
Okay.
And I think that that's happened. She's been abandoned on a train. And that Skimbleshanks, obviously the cat of the railway train, has found her, this little like abandoned kitten, and has kind of taken her under his wing and has kind of adopted her. But she doesn't know, like Jemima doesn't know that she's the daughter of Macavity and Bombalurina. I think at this point she's almost like too young that she's just like, I know that my grown up is Skimble and he's going to look after me kind of thing.
Okay. So just abandon love child of the two of them.
Yeah.
And then and adopted by Skimbleshanks as a father figure.
Yeah.
What about the telepathic type of stuff and the magic that sometimes is played with this character? Did you ever play anything with that?
I mean, I guess there's definitely like the connection with the twins.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that, you know, like when you hear of like younger children that are like, oh, I can see this, or I've heard this.
Yeah.
And they have that kind of, I don't know, connection with other spiritual things. I've always thought it's like that because she's so young and kind of open, I suppose, to those things, that's why she's kind of used as someone that is able to connect with that, I guess, because she's so open to just like exploring and finding things and taking on new information. So I think that's where I've always thought that kind of magical telepathic element would come from.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the relationship to the twins, and that's like kind of pulling it in there. Okay, so you play, I like the idea and the theory. How did you play the relationship with Grisabella then? Just like a warning sign for you?
No, I think, again, I think my thoughts were always that Jemima would get on, I don't know, I'm obsessed with the train. She would, like, Skimble would allow her to just, like, you know, hop on a train, do a little bit of exploring, but he'd say, you know, you need to be back by 8 o'clock. So that kind of thing. You can go and have fun, do what you need to do, but make sure you're back. And I think that Jemima would occasionally go off on her adventures and see Grisabella, wouldn't necessarily ever speak to her or kind of have any full like relationship there, but I think she would like watch her and, you know, have a little bit of a, I know that you're there, you know that I'm there. And I always have this, I don't know why, but me and Grisabella both have quite like a dark red lip on as a cat. And I always think that maybe Jemima's like found a lipstick or something and has given it to her. And
interesting.
Yeah, or something like that. Just something so small that, you know, she's never said anything, but has just gone, oh, I know that she, you know, she's probably living around that area at the moment. So I'm going to leave this for her because I think, you know, I can see that she's obviously wants to be glamorous. And I think, you know, she might like that as a little like gesture. But I'm always too scared to speak to her. So yeah, random, but that's always something that
I love it.
Yeah.
I love all the different pieces that you like can add to it. That's what the beauty of cats, where it's like you can have that storyline, and hopefully maybe somebody notices it on stage, but if not, it's like it's not like a massive piece, but it gives you something to really tie yourself to that character, especially in the moment too, where you have to, you know, where she comes back before, you know, in memory and during that whole part.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the differences between the productions, because you did the Victoria in 2018 in like throughout China, and then you did 2022 in Korea and Taiwan, like that one, and then then you had a little bit of a break again. Then you did the international tour, but both parts of that. So that's the section that went through China again, and then all through Europe and everywhere. How do you like cats? It's universal, but you went through a zillion different languages, like as primary language. So how is like doing a show like this in so many different cultures?
I mean, it varies hugely. I feel so lucky that I've performed in so many different places as well. I think the variety is just so special. I think so obviously 2018 Victoria, that was like my first time doing cats and my first experience going to China. I'd never been before. And it was just, I mean, the theatres over there are just wonderful, like ginormous, like absolutely like amazingly like architecture and everything. But sometimes for like flashing eyes, you'd be like, oh, that's quite far. This is quite far. But you know, gorgeous. And the audiences just loved cats, absolutely loved it. So again, it was just so lucky that, you know, you go, it's so nice to be performing somewhere that they just love the show. I think interestingly with like the theatre kind of culture over there, especially, you know, to start with, it was things like, the start of Act 2, there would be like laser beams everywhere because the ushers would be trying to tell people to get off their phones or their laptops or God knows what else they'd bring out. But like, it's very different to over here where everyone's like, okay, that's, you don't take your laptop to the theatre and start, doing your emails in the middle of memory, which happened, crazy stuff. But so that was like a big change. Like, it was just very interesting because obviously I'd been to the theatre before, many times, but never performed like, and it was just in China. It was just crazy, but loved it, absolutely loved it. And then obviously after that tour, I've then played Jemima. So I did Jemima in Korea and Taiwan and then China and Europe. And it's very cool that I, as Jemima, get to sing Moonlight in a variety of languages. So that was quite a challenge to start with. So I've done it in Korean, Mandarin, and obviously in English. And that in itself was just, terrifying to start with. I was like, oh my God, like you think if I mess this up, there is no coming back from this. You just have to drill it into your head. But the response was just wonderful. Just the audience just loved it. And I mean, there's subtitles and stuff throughout the show because the rest of the show is in English. And so they know, I guess, what's going on. I suppose it's cats, but they
know as much as everyone else does.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that would be obviously going on at the sides, and then at the, obviously, as I say, top of Act 2, I then start to sing in, as I say, Korean or Mandarin, and it would take a couple of seconds for the audience to realize, and then the sound, like people would just be like, oh my God, like literally just audible like kind of sounds. And it was just for me, it was just like such a special moment in the show anyway, and then to have that kind of reaction as well was just amazing experience. And but it was quite stressful at times because I thought I can't, you just have that moment of like, oh, I don't want to mess it up because it is also so special, and
it's surprising too. So if I've heard a lot about this now recently, but if this is the first time you're hearing about this, like essentially what you all did is you did the show in English in every stop. And you took a section of Moonlight at the beginning of Act 2 and put it in whatever the local language is. Although I don't think you did it internationally, right? Like just no. Korea and China.
Yes.
And they didn't know it was coming. So it's like it was very much a shock. And you're the only one delivering that entire section. Yeah. So you had to learn that couple lines in whatever language and then go and you surprise them essentially every night with that. Yeah.
And it was just, and every night, I mean, there'd be the odd one that, they probably know what's going on, but like it was just, it was so special. I mean, I think it was just, I felt very privileged that I was able to, deliver that. Yeah. I think the only time that was a little bit like, I was like, oh, okay. So I'd learnt Korean and we performed in Korea for, I think it's about 7 months at that. So we did like a 7-month stint in Korea. We had a month off and then we went to Taiwan, where I then had to learn it in Mandarin. So I had a month off where they were like, okay, you need to now learn this in a different language. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This is so fine. But obviously I'd been doing it for 7 months in another language. So to then rejoin the dots in my brain to be like, okay, you're not singing in Korean anymore. That like the first kind of couple of weeks when we were in Taiwan, I had to really tune into my brain to make sure I was singing the correct language.
Yeah.
But it was just great. And I think, I can't remember if we did it in that tour as well, but once everyone starts joining in after I finished singing, the rest of the company also sang in the language, which again was just really lovely.
That's awesome. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. I'd love to hear some unforgettable moments from doing this for many years. Like, what are the things you're never going to forget?
I think, I mean, so I have gained a husband from Cats. So that was pretty unforgettable. So yeah, my husband, so he was the well, he was head of sound when I did the first tour in 2018. And we obviously met on the job. I was told about the white cat curse because I was the white cat, obviously in 2018. And our resident at the time had seen that, we'd had a little chit chat in the corridor or whatever. And she was like, you do know about the white cat curse, don't you? And I was like, no, what's the white cat curse? And she was like, well, there's a curse that the white cat and the head of sound, they always get together. And I was like, what? I was thinking, she's just lying. She's lying. Cut to like 7 months later. And I was like, oh, she's telling the truth. It's a thing. And it apparently is a thing. There's been variety of white cats.
Is that a thing, or was that her trying to be like, the sound guy was like, hey, I want to meet Victoria. Can you go tell her this is a curse? I've never heard that.
Yeah, no, it's genuinely a thing. I think, well, so as I say, my resident at the time, she also was a Victoria, Marina. And she was a Victoria, and she, during her time as Victoria, got with the head of sound. And then I think it happened another time. So she told me it was a curse. But anyway, my husband doesn't like me to say it's a curse, obviously. It's like,
I think does not want to say that. Okay, so I had another stage manager. I'm trying to think through all, like, we've had a handful of jellicle relationships outside. And the stage manager, though, but it was a syllaba or Jemima. It wasn't a white cat. And then, because I'm fascinated by it because I totally understand the, like, why so many couples come from the show. You are like crawling on top of each other. And like, but I'm always like, whenever I hear them, I'm like, would those characters get together or not? I'm thinking about it purely from that side of like, would that happen or not? And not that like you all are actual human beings with completely could be exactly like your character or not, and are just meeting somebody in the workplace. So I've never heard the white cat curse though. That's interesting. There you go.
But yeah, we've been married nearly for 2 years, but we did perform the Jellicle Ball at our wedding.
Both of you? Did you make him learn it off?
No.
I was gonna say.
No, to be fair, I think he was in charge of the music, which makes sense.
Sound.
The sound.
Yeah, he did the sound.
But I think there was about 12 kitties at my wedding, so we had nearly half a cast.
And all 13 minutes? You did the whole thing?
No,
okay.
We just from Judders. I mean, I was in like heels in a wedding dress.
Yeah.
It wasn't my finest work. But it was good fun.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's a very memorable moment.
Yes, definitely.
Having your white cat curse.
And to be honest, again, kind of similar, I guess, like it's been so special that I've had like my family come out and watch me. That's just been wonderful, especially in Europe because, it's much closer to home. So that's been such a special thing. And just like you gain so many wonderful friends from doing the show. I think, like lifelong friends that, I'm so grateful for, like, the show brings you together. And I think, because it's such a intense show, it's the show itself, you're just going to get intertwined with everyone, and you just become such strong friends. So definitely that's another like massive, like memorable thing. I've had like crazy stuff happen also on the show where like things that I'm like, wow, okay, won't forget that. In Korea, in between, we're about to change venues, and I was cleaning my brushes to, my face paint brushes, had a little cup on my desk of brush cleaner, which is just a clear liquid. Put it on my desk, and in the interval, I was like, right, gonna clean the brushes, organization. So I'd left that on my desk, went and did act one, came back, mistook this said cup for a cup of water. So downed basically pure alcohol, spat it out everywhere because it was brush cleaner, it was not water. The floors like bleached, and I was thinking, oh my God, and then had to go and try and sing beautifully soprano for the top of Act 2. And then, after a few days, I was like, my throat's really sore, I had to go to a doctor, and I burnt my esophagus from drinking that. So, but we all do it for the cause. So that was something I'll never forget. And like the smell of brush cleaner now, I'm like, it just sends me back to cats, back to that moment. I'm like,
a little buzz in Act 2 from it.
Yeah. And then I guess another one, which happened on this tour. So because I obviously this time I've been Jemima, but I was first couple Victoria. And it was in the middle of Act 1, and our Victoria was taken ill or injured, I can't remember, and I basically had the number of Mungo and Rumple to get changed fully out of Jemima into Victoria in, like 5 minutes, basically. So felt like it was a bit of a Mrs. Doubtfire moment of like face in pie, white makeup on my face, because I was just like, did not have any time. So I looked crazy, absolutely crazy on stage, because I thought my makeup is atrocious, because I just basically painted white as much as I could over my face.
Yeah.
New wig, new costume to get on. And that was something
you're going into your solo, right? Like you're like it's the ball.
To be fair, she'd done the solo, so she'd done the hard work, but I had to then do basically the lift and the ball and the rest of the show. Yeah. But yeah, it was just like just crazy. But I think that's just cats. You just have to go. You start the show and you think, who knows what's going to happen? It's just one of those shows where it's just there's so much happening, so many elements that you just go, yeah, who knows?
It's so physically demanding that I'm like surprised I don't hear more injuries, with the show. But also just like a testament to what you all do to be prepared and to stay prepared, and all the people helping, like all the staff that's kind of working to do that. And I'm glad to hear that there's more covers and swings and everything to kind of preserve you all to be able to do this as much as you need to.
The swings are the heroes. Truly, they're absolutely incredible. I wish we had more swings.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think it's one of those as well, because, as soon as there's an illness, it just goes around so fast, because we're all sweating and, crawling all over each other. You can hand sanitize as much as you like in those couple of minutes that you're off stage, but, it's like you just have to hope for the best. But yeah.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire. So if you could perform for one night as any cat, male, female, doesn't matter. Who do you want to perform as?
Tugger. Yeah, I want the mane.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite and least favorite cats from a personality standpoint? So like, which one would you, Gabby, like to hang out with, and which one would bug you?
Ooh, okay. As Gabby, as me.
As Gabby, yeah. As you.
Okay. I think probably I would like to hang out with probably like Rumple, because she's just like cute and fun.
Yeah.
Bit mischievous. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun. I feel like Gus would drive me mental. Like, love Gus, but I think it's the same story. Like, and you can just imagine that you're like, I've heard this.
Enough.
Yeah, like, love you so much, but in small doses.
Favorite song in the show?
It's got to be Macavity. It's just brilliant. The music as well. Like, I don't know if this counts as a song, but like the Jellicle Ball, that is just, even like when we do sound check every week or every venue, whatever, like you just hear the band and you're just like, this is amazing. Like the music is just sensational. And same for Macavity, it's like all the saxophones and like, it's just such a good, gorgeous number. Feels nice as well to dance it, to that kind of music. It's so fab.
I like to ask a fun one. So if you could cast your sound husband into one of the cats, who would you want him to perform as?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, he's very tall, so he'd have to be a tall cat. I feel like he'd be like an Admetus. Oh no, maybe an Admetus.
Okay.
Maybe an Admetus, yeah.
Okay.
Although then he'd be Macavity. No, that's scary.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really hard. I feel like he'd want to be like Tugger or someone like cool. Maybe he'd be a Monkerstrap. He's very organized, very he'd be Monkerstrap 100%.
Okay.
Very organized, very he knows what he wants.
Okay.
Yeah.
My $1 million question is, this whole podcast centers around, I don't think Grisbell being the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear you, Gabby, who is your Jellicle choice and why?
I think it should be Gus.
Okay, I was a little worried when you said that Gus is you're the one that's gonna bug you. That I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna pick him. But okay,
No.
so Team Gus.
Yeah, I think it should be Gus. I just think, yeah, I also think, I mean, I was very lucky to do the longer version of Cats in Korea, where you do the Growl Tiger number, Siamese aria, that whole section, and obviously the like Rumpus Cat it's Alonso that plays Rumpus Cat and does the gorgeous like développé, who in Taiwan was Severio, who has literally the best legs and feet I've ever seen in my life. Shout out to Severio. And I would just love Gus to be able to come back and do that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see Gus give me a layout.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Gus is like, you watched his prime. You're like, I've seen it.
Yeah.
They tell us that story. I want him to come back, and he's ready. He needs to.
Yeah, I think so. I'm like, I can see it in him, but he needs the chance to just relive that.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like as Jemima, I'm like, I want to see him actually do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I'm young enough that like if he comes back, we can maybe work on this together. Like,
workshop.
Yeah. I love it. This has been so fun. How can people stay in touch with you on social media and everything else to see what you're working on?
On my Instagram would probably be the best thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll tag that. But thank you for coming on, for sharing all your fun stories and your experiences and your Jellicle family that's expanded since you first started with the show.
Absolutely.
The White Cat Curse. Who knew?
I know. Well, yeah, there you go.
I'm going to tell there's a bunch of people that are doing the show regionally right now. And I'm going to be like, every Victoria,
watch out.
talk to your sound guy right now. It could be your future.
Yeah, you could get some diamonds out of it, guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else podcast. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died. Check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.